News 1, Weather 2, Traffic 3, Sports 4.
Hey guys, it's Alex. Join me every second Saturday for the RX Radio Top 20.
It's really exciting, this track. I'm really enjoying it.
One of the key things that we are finding out is that children telling their own stories to other children create a sense of, oh wow, this didn't happen only to me.
My name is Siraj and my condition is I'm hemophilia.
Communication is key in the healing process. My name is Gabriel Urgoiti, I'm a medical doctor and I am the station manager of RX Radio. The kids are the first clients in this hospital, so that they should be able to say what they need, what they want, what they feel. And we are seeing that kids doing that can help to change the way the health services are delivered.
Mental health affects the way we feel. We at RX Radio will be promoting healthy minds and discussing different issues that affect millions of South Africans.
Let's look up some good news. Let's find some good news.
We have trained since we started 77 reporters. The younger is 4 years old, the older is 18 years old.
There are roadworks on the N1 inbound near to the north.
The vision, the dream is that the voices of sick children and not sick children are heard in South Africa. So we want to be the catalyst for people to say, hey, wow, we should provide kids with the opportunities as RX Radio is doing.
These are South African heroes.
Yeah, so that's just a little bit of background on RX Radio. Just to let you know, this was done at the end of 2018, so it was before the pandemic. And now we've trained 100 reporters. And also Gabs is no longer the station manager. Loliolo Ngomani is now the new station manager. But now I'll hand over to Talita, who's the first to speak.
Hello everyone, my name is Talita Kanta. I'm 17 years old and I'm a young RX radio reporter. I have a condition called meningoencephalitis, and that was when a viral infection happened in the brain and that caused my muscles to not function properly. As I also have a tracheostomy tube in my airway pipe that helps me cough up my secretions. I was told about RX radio in 2017 and I wanted to join the station. And after joining the station, I had to go through training as to know how to work the field recorders, know how to interview people, and what to say during interviews. And after doing my training, I had to do a radio diary. That was me speaking about my journey of being ill and interviewing some of the people that had an impact in my life, such as the doctors, physios, and my parents. And after doing the training, after doing the radio diary, I got the certificate that had said I can now be involved in live broadcasts. And I remember I had to do my first live broadcast, and that was me standing in for one of the reporters. I was super nervous. My voice sounded like I was shaking, but I was not shaking. But now that I'm used to it, I'm glad that I can say I'm not nervous anymore, and I'm quite used to doing radio work. I love being an RX radio reporter because I get to interview a lot of people. And one of the interviews that I will never forget is when I got to interview the president of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa. For me, it was quite nerve-wracking when he was about to enter the studio because for me, I thought because I'm interviewing a well-known person, I might stutter or might say something bad. But as the interview started, I felt like I was having a conversation with him more than actually interviewing him. And I recently started my own show called Talita's Get Down, which is about music because I love music, and it's actually good. And RX Radio took part in the Reboot Health and Reboot Health and Wellbeing Innovation Challenge. Um, we took part against a lot of organizations, and we did a project called Children's Voices on COVID-19, which actually focused on children's voices on COVID-19 as to what they know of the virus and the experiences of the COVID-19. And we actually won the challenge. It was two groups, us and another group that had won. And for me, it was actually cool because it shows how important children's voices are um, children's voices are generally, but also because of the pandemic that we are dealing with, that people are actually listening to what we have to say and how we feel regarding certain matters. I also got to do a presentation at the General Assembly where there was people who were over the age of 18 and I was 16 at the time, which was very cool because I felt like an adult for once in my life. And I also got to speak to Dr. Tedros, which was quite awesome because I never thought I would ever speak to anyone from the World Health Organization or anyone important, but it was very cool. And I'd like to say thank you for listening to my presentation. Now I'd like to hand over to Alex.
Thanks, Talita. As Talita said, my name is Alex White. I'm also an RX Radio reporter. I've been into radio and enjoying radio, passionate about radio since I was about 10 years old. And I'm currently 18. In 2015, I found out about RX Radio. I'm not a patient of Red Cross, but my mom is a nurse who works at Red Cross, and she found out that this radio station, Gabs, was trying to start this station, and that's how I got involved back in 2015. I joined the station, and since then there've been highlights. Like Talita said, I got to meet President Cyril Ramaphosa through being a part of RX Radio. I've been able to interview Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal when they were here in Cape Town last year for the match in Africa. That was an incredible experience. And then also I've been lucky enough to win a South African Radio Award. So those are some of the highlights during my time at RX Radio. But in this morning, what I'm going to be talking to you about, well, it's morning here, is how the pandemic affected how we did things at RX Radio and how we adapted in different ways to be a part of RX. Sorry, I lost my camera there. I'm back. Cool. So in terms of when the pandemic started, Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, came on TV early in March or towards the end of March to say, we're going to go into a 21-day lockdown. My family and I, we were on holiday at the time, and no one really knew what was going to happen. But quite quickly, I got contacted by Yoli, who was our senior content producer, Noliolo Ngumani Kola Yoli. She is now the station manager. She contacted me and said, can you record a PSA? Now, PSA is a public service announcement. Generally, it will be information about some sort of topic that we want to give to the public to help educate or to help inform. And so we recorded, my sister and I, she's a bit younger than me, I recorded in English and Afrikaans, and she recorded in English. We recorded a couple PSAs about COVID-19, what it was, what we understood of it at the time. This is almost a year ago now. So it's very different what we understood then to what we understand now. And then talking about the lockdown and how people must stay at home and what to do in an emergency, things like that. And over the next few weeks and months, we kept doing that, and all RX Radio reporters got involved with that. But obviously, one of the difficulties with the lockdown is that we weren't able to have live broadcasts from our studio at Red Cross because we were in a hard lockdown. You couldn't go out, you couldn't go to the studio. And so because of my work in radio that I'd done outside of RX Radio, I'd done my own podcast and things like that. So I had the equipment and I was able to broadcast from my home. And that set up a whole new set of challenges because I was sending a stream out from my house to the Red Cross studio that then had to get sent out, and the producers had to control it remotely. So there was a whole lot of chaos, and it was organized chaos, but we managed to get it to work. And I was doing 3 shows a week. And we had 3 goals with the shows: to entertain people who were listening. So we focused on uplifting, positive content, inspiring music, that sort of thing. Also to provide information about COVID-19. So we continued with the PSAs. we added in experiences. This was one of the focuses of Children's Voices in COVID-19 that won the Reboot Health and Wellbeing Innovation Challenge, was getting experiences from different people, because experiences all over South Africa to do with this virus were vastly different. South Africa might be the most industrialized nation in Africa, but it's still very different. There are very different circumstances depending on where you are in South Africa. So from across the provinces, we got different experiences from parents, from patients, from health workers, particular focus on children, and then also from Argentina, China, and the United Kingdom, which was quite incredible to get that that experience from children directly, because the media talks about children, talks about how this is affecting children, but we took and actually got the voices from the children to say, so that they could say how everything's affecting them. And then also with information, we had Dwayne Evans. He works for the Western Cape Department of Health, and he gave positive news from the province each week on RX Radio to really help uplift and give some positive news so people could feel good. And we also gave COVID stats weekly, updates on the number of cases in South Africa. And then the final goal of the show was to involve as many RX Radio reporters as possible. And so through things like them recording interviews through WhatsApp, through recording their experiences, is how we involved as many RX Radio reporters as we could. And I really think during the time, RX Radio learned to adapt, and also came to the fore in terms of international recognition through the Health and Innovation Challenge. That was incredible for RX Radio, and the Children Voices on COVID-19 was such an incredible thing and such a new thing. So it was great to be a part of that, and really seeing how RX Radio grew and developed. Yeah, thanks for listening. I'm going to hand over to Yusra.
Thank you so much, Alex. Hi everyone, my name is Yusra. I am 13 years old and an RX Radio reporter. I'm also the older sister to Nasira du Toit, and she has a condition called CMT. So basically it's a disorder in her hands and her feet muscles, which causes them to be weaker. So she attends physiotherapy at RX Radio on a monthly basis. And a couple of years ago, she was asked if she'd like to join the radio station. And I just remember her coming home, and she was so excited at the dinner table. She couldn't stop talking about it. And I just thought she was so crazy. And then obviously they had a weekend on a Saturday morning where they showed all the parents and the siblings could come along. They showed us the studio, the office, what everything was about. And I remember in my mind, I was just like, I want to go home now. I'd never be able to speak in front of all of these people. I couldn't even say my name in front of the few people that was there. I was so nervous, and I thought radio is just not for me. If I have to talk off the cuff like this, I'd never be able to do it. But then my mom forced me to do it, and I'm so glad that she actually did, because a couple of weeks later, in the June holidays of 2017, I think it was, I might be mistaken, we had like a week-long type of training thing where they taught us how to use the mic, how to conduct interviews. And I remember on the first morning we had to go, I just laid in the bed and I was just like, I don't want to go. Please don't make me go. And then I absolutely loved it when I came home that afternoon. I just got this whole new different perspective of RX Radio. I'd made new friends. I related to other reporters. They were not reporters then because they hadn't graduated yet. But I got the sense of community, and I got the sense of belonging, and it just made me so, so, so happy. Yeah, and then from then, everybody kind of graduated. They got their certificates, and it was quite a euphoric experience for everybody. And then we kind of started off slow, we started with maybe conducting interviews or talking, doing quizzes and that. And then we started actually having our own shows. So the show that I co-host with my sister is called Books and Breakfast with Yusra and Nasira. Unfortunately, no breakfast involved because none of us can cook or anything like that. So it's all about literature, because I feel strongly that literature is really, really important, and that we should get literature instilled in as many children as we can. So basically the aim of the show is to just instill literature and to educate, because I love reading. But unfortunately, Nasira, she's not that involved in literature as me. She'll maybe read some comics, graphic novels, do the joke side of everything. So I think we balanced it quite well. And obviously, as you can imagine, having two sisters running a show together, there's going to be arguing and fighting. So we usually argue about the songs and all of those. But yeah, it's been quite fun. We have partnerships with Takalani and Nali Bali, and basically those are like storytelling things and features that we have, and we interview authors and illustrators and publishers, so it has been quite amazing. But unfortunately now during COVID we cannot be in the studio, so we've had to be innovative with it. We started recording from our cell phones, and next week or later on in the week, we're actually going to record our first Zoom show that is going to be live. So we are quite excited about that. And I just think RX Radio has just benefited me in every way possible. I've been I've been nominated for the Liberty Radio Awards, and we were the youngest ever to be nominated for that. And also I've been with the Children's Commissioner, where a group of young people just talk about issues in South Africa. So that's quite great. And I just think if you had asked me 3 years ago, what would you want to be, Yusra? I would not give you an answer. But now if you'd ask me now, I'd definitely say I want to pursue something in the media industry, in radio, because I have developed a passion for radio, and that is all thanks to RX Radio. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I'm now going to hand over to Tariq.
Thank you, Yusra. Today, World Health Organization, as mentioned, my name is Tariq Kenny. I'm 19 years old and I'm one of 20 in South Africa that suffers from a rare chronic illness called stenosis. And in 2015, I received a kidney transplant. So basically what stenosis is, it's a rare chronic illness that affects every single organ in the body, but mostly the kidneys. And as a result of this, I needed a kidney transplant in 2015. Because of my condition, I have to go to the hospital often once a month for my checkup. And in 2016, when I came to the hospital for my monthly checkup, my mom and I had run into my physiotherapist that had helped me during the time of my operation after getting the kidney transplant. And she had asked my mom, what have I been getting up to recently? And my mom told her that at school I've been getting involved in dancing, drama, and late in the year I would start to play badminton as my sport. And she said, okay, seeing that I'm so active, why don't I get involved with the radio station downstairs? And that's when I went downstairs and I got introduced to the team, who explained to me the idea of RX Radio, what it was all about, and asked me if I wanted to join. Initially, I first said no, because I didn't see myself as sitting behind the desk. I wanted to be active, start running around and doing things to keep fit. But once one of the producers, Wayne, had taken me next door to the studio, and I saw the equipment and he started playing music, the dancing side of me was like, yeah, it's going to be a party, let's do it. So then I started taking part in RX Radio, like the reporters I said, went through the training, etc. So the past 4 years of being involved with RX Radio have actually been 4 of the best years of my life, because not only have I learned so many skill sets within the media industry, I've also had the opportunity of going to radio stations, being on television, and meeting many influential people within the industry and within other industries as well. And as mentioned by Talita, President Cyril Ramaphosa came to the studio, and I had the opportunity of doing a presentation to the President of South Africa himself. But I think the icing on the cake for me was when I had the opportunity in 2019 to travel to London and attend a conference. And this was really amazing, because this was the first time that I have ever flown overseas. So how this came about was the Five Rights Foundation had a global calling about children's rights on the internet. RX Radio had decided to answer this global calling, and our reporters had started to fill out these questionnaires and basically answer these questions about certain things that I went through on the internet, certain concerns that they have, and what they think that, you know, these people could do to help make the experience on the internet much more safer and more enjoyable. After our contribution, I think about like a few weeks later, the Five Rights Foundation had reached out to RX Radio and said that they really enjoyed our contribution to the global calling, and that's just when they invited us to attend the conference in London, which will be held later that year in October. And as Alex mentioned and Chris mentioned, our station manager now, which was our senior content producer back then, Noli Olungomani, and myself had attended the 2-day conference in London. And what this topic was about was children's rights on the internet, and certain things that we could do to, you know, just ensure that children will be much more safer on the internet and that their rights are heard. So there was experts from all over the world, which range from college professors It ranged from even people that represented Google, there was members of the United Nations, just people from different fields that focused within this topic. Now, the topic was children's rights on the internet, but what I brought to the table was a bit different because South Africa is still a developing country, and in South Africa, there are many rural areas that don't even have access to internet. And as we know in today's age, children that are busy pursuing education and need to complete their projects, for them to get their hands on the updated information of today, they need to get it on the internet. You don't really always get books where it gives you the updated information. And it's a shame because many of these kids in these communities, in these rural areas, don't have internet at all. And the only other form of medium to get the internet is to go to their local library, stay after school, or go to the internet cafe. But most of these rural areas are dominated by gang violence. So as they are going out to go and pursue their education, they risk the chance of either being robbed or physically harmed by these gangsters. So that was something that was really a big eye-opener at the conference. And one thing I forgot to mention that also the group discussions that took place at the conference, as well as my input that I gave, would later be gathered, and this would be put into the general comment, which would help to create policies to ensure children's rights on the internet. And why I think that it was so important for RX Radio to attend this conference is because RX Radio is an advocate for children's rights. We've even developed a children's rights podcast within the hospital, which has been a podcast created by the children in order to create a rights charter, which would eventually be a rights charter by and for the children. And RX Radio has already helped with changing policies within the hospital in itself, as we've also created a procedural pain podcast, which has helped just to make pain a bit more bearable. As my colleagues has mentioned also before, that RX Radio is not just a platform where it trains the next generation of reporters and people to go into the media industry and gives us all these cool skills and how to conduct interviews and that. But RX Radio is also a platform where it helps just create a closer bond between families, a closer bond between siblings, and just brings us out of our shells and shows everybody the personality and the skill sets that we have. And in my opinion, I actually think that RX Radio even goes much further to help us in schooling, because drama being a passion of mine, I feel that RX Radio has helped me find my voice. I've been able to conduct presentations and orals, and even been able to act much better due to RX Radio, helping to train my voice. So essentially, RX Radio is not just a training platform, but it's a lifetime experience that you probably won't really get really around the world. And in closing, I would just like to say thank you for listening to us. Thanks for listening to our presentation. Right now, we'll play you an example of some clips of children's voices of COVID-19. If you would like to see these full clips, you can go to our website, www.rxradio.co.za. Thanks once again for listening to us, and once the clip has finished playing, we will answer any questions that you have.
Thanks, Tarek. So I'll quickly play the video.
My name is Lukuko Fungap. I am 18 years old, a young reporter at RX Radio, and I'm also a patient at Laycock Hospital, and I have a chronic illness named by spinal muscular atrophy. I'm located in Queenstown. The effect of mentally is that I have the fear of it has a relation with my chronic illness, coronavirus, and my illness. If they can click together, they can basically kill me.
Hello everybody, my name is Onesimo and I am in grade 2 and I'm 8 years old. I live in Dalian, China. During this lockdown, I feel very sad because I don't play with my friends, I don't write with my friends, and we don't do class stuff. But now I feel very happy because now I do online learning.
Starting off with this story, Connor, how did you find out that you had COVID-19?
My parents were first tested and they were positive. Then my sister and I, we were tested after that, and then we were also positive, and Cole was positive. We found out that he was positive when he was in hospital. So Cole has cystic fibrosis. It's an illness that affects the lungs and his pancreas. So he went to hospital at first for about 10 days, and he was there and he was on oxygen. we were a bit worried because people with lung illnesses or diseases will catch it quicker, and we prayed and we came together. We spoke to him so that he can and fight the illness with us.
Breaking news. Santa Claus worries about being able to deliver presents this year in light of coronavirus. There has just been one too many problems around the issue of Christmas presents in year 2020 amid COVID-19. So, is it better to sacrifice Christmas presents in 2020 and have them in 2021 going forward? Or run the risk of losing Santa to COVID-19 and never have Christmas presents again? Food for thought. This is Selena Padana, Channel 7 News, East London.
You're listening to RX Radio.
For and by children.